Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a starting video here for Great Qing, which is probably the strongest possible country to start out economically. They have a few features that are very unique about them. The number one, most notable one, is they have an enormous chunk of the world's population. I think it's maybe roughly a third of the total world population. And so this means you have basically an unlimited workforce for a huge chunk of the game, and this is a very defining feature, it's a very unique feature. There's no other country that's like this. Japan is like kind of close, but there's really not a comparison to Great Qing in this manner. They also start out with an enormous GDP, and this GDP is the result of almost entirely subsistence farms here at the start. And so while they have an enormous economy, it's not very controlled or that well built out. They notably can't tax all their pops. You see minus 90% tax collection in Jiangxi, and instead a huge chunk of their money comes from minting. That is probably the highest proportion of income you will see from minting. Around 40% of their income is coming from minting, and this is absolutely wild. So this is kind of thing one, is they have an enormous population. This gives them an enormous amount of subsistence farms and this sort of thing. The second unique feature, or it's not quite unique to them, but it's very one you have to consider in this entire region, is they have rice subsistence farms. And these subsistence farms are unique because they employ 10,000 population instead of 5,000 population. And this is very important because whenever you build over something, so for example, if we build a silk plantation here, when the silk plantation completes, it will delete one of these rice paddies and it will fire 10,000 pops. This means that whenever you build an agricultural building, it is firing 10,000 pops. It's eliminating these jobs, and the subsistence rice paddies produce quite a bit more goods than a regular, a grain-oriented, or sorry, not grain, they're all grain, but a different type of subsistence farm. So for example, in northern China, wow, they still have sub-rice paddies in northern China, even when they have wheat. That's kind of interesting. Let's see. They have subsistence pastures up here. So whenever one of these ones finishes, it will instead fire 5,000 pops. You can see here that 19 times, or 20 times 5,000 would be 100,000, and the math checks out. And if you were to do the math for one of these other ones, you will see that it is 10,000 pops. And so, for Qing especially, you really don't want to build agriculture. This is true for all these like rice places, but the auto queue is going to build a lot of agriculture. It's going to fire a lot of boyos, and they will also struggle with considerable unemployment. They even start with relatively large unemployment, and so this is kind of a characteristic that makes China's start a little bit difficult, especially if you stay on poor laws. So for a very brand new beginner player who doesn't recognize that this is going to eviscerate your economy, China can present a little bit of a challenge, but overall they are one of the strongest, if not the strongest start in the game. They're certainly the best country to try and go to 1 billion GDP as quickly as possible with, but you could see something like France, because they are militarily much stronger, being an overall stronger pick, but economically Great Qing is the strongest start in the game. They also have 3 unique interest groups, which are a bit interesting. They have a unique landowner group, they have a unique Intelligentsia group, and they have a unique Confucian scholars, or a lot of religious groups do have a little bit of a unique one, but the Confucian scholars notably have Confucian and patriarchal, and unlike most other devout interest groups, they do not support the monarchy, or what was it? Yeah, oh sorry, they do support monarchy, which is actually normal. Why did I have that in my notes? Okay, well, they also don't hate public schools or health insurance or multiculturalism, which is a bit of a unique feature. Let's see, take a look here. If we go into schools, you will see something pretty interesting looking about schools. The Intelligentsia, that is the literati, and also the Confucian scholars, which are the devout interest group, neither of them care at all about schools, which is very interesting. And you see a similar thing with the health insurance system, where they just don't care at all, which is quite unique. Kind of continuing on, The landowner interest group, also multiculturalism, normally the devout will oppose this, and this devout doesn't care. And so that's an interesting one. Also, the scholar officials, which, by the way, just to be clear, the Confucian scholars are normally very hard, or the devout interest group is normally very hard to keep happy, and so is often not really considered a very strong interest group. As far as countries go, the Chinese might have the best devout interest group because it can be happy simultaneously with the Intelligentsia, and also you have an enormous population, and so the Intelligentsia, what you're really getting from them, in addition to the society tech boost from their bonus here, is you are getting the migration attraction. Well, when you have 500 million pops, the migration attraction is much less important, and so the society tech cost is still nice, but when you have an enormous amount of pops, be fruitful and multiply is very nice as the loud car outside. Actually, probably not that nice. That car sounds real nice. But we will see that the devout have really, really good interest group bonuses. The problem is they compete often with the Intelligentsia, and so China presents an interesting one where you could try and get both of these guys happy at the same time because they don't have, these competing views on notably schools and health systems and this sort of thing. And so that one is a bit interesting. Also, their landowners are super chill too. Their landowners have scholar gentry, which is much less, I forget what the name of the other group or the other ideology for the normal group is, but for these ones, they actually support appointed bureaucrats, which is a little bit wild, and they don't support traditionalism, so switching off of traditionalism is extraordinarily easy on China, and they don't have any opinion on the trade policy, and so switching off of this is also very easy. And so, China has very, very chilled out interest groups in general because very often, you will have the literati or the Confucian scholars at war with each other. Let's talk about the literati as well. They also notably, I think, have a little bit of a different opinion on the bureaucracy. Let's see. Nope, this looks pretty normal. Oh, they don't have an opinion at all. So normally the Intelligentsia likes appointed bureaucrats and doesn't like elected bureaucrats as much. You see here, the literati are actually indifferent as far as the bureaucracy laws go. They don't support or hate anything. And so they don't have an opinion, which is a bit unique. Notably, this makes they also don't have an opinion on religion, so this makes going to state atheism or total separation very, very, very difficult. And so this is one, feature about China that is a little bit harder. It is very hard to go total separation, although it should be a little bit easier now, with the newer sort of agitator mechanic. But these are, kind of the three really unique features about Qing at the start. They have enormous pop and enormous economy. They have unique interest groups, and they do have to worry about rice farms, subsistence rice farms, and the fact that they are going to lose a ton of labor from these places when they get auto-queued over. And so this is going to be one of the challenges. This is going to be the biggest challenge to solve, specifically when paired with the fact that they start with poor laws. So for, trying to do anything, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of poor laws, because we do have to solve the unemployment problem. If these pops are employed in subsistence farms, that is greatly preferable, rather than becoming unemployed. And if we have a ton of unemployed pops, we will have to pay so much out to poor laws, we won't be able to make use of our enormous income from minting. Notice we are not taxing a lot. And so another thing to note about China in regard to like tech as a result of this is they will actually really value banking a lot higher. This 10% minting is going to represent 14,000 for us right now because we are currently making 134K for minting, and there's no other country that's like this. But also central archives is also going to be huge because standardized filing system is going to give a lot of taxation capacity, as well as bureaucracy, and this is also going to greatly increase the income because they're tax deficient in almost every single province. But this is China's challenges as well as their great strength, because it's very, very easy to grow to 1 billion GDP very quickly with such a large population base. Now, China has a bit of a unique diplomatic position because they are going to have to fight the UK at the very start of the game, and so there are a few things we're going to do, kind of on this front in regards to our opening diplomatic kind of ideas. The first is we're going to come and we're going to declare interest. We're going to nuke our interest in Japan, and we're actually going to declare one over here in Brazil. We will talk about that more later, but also we are going to do a few things. We are going to try and piss some people off, which is actually something you very rarely want to do, but we're going to rival the Sikh Empire. And we're also going to damage relations with both the Sikh and the Portuguese, because this will make the fight with the UK easier. Now, there's a few ways to handle the UK. Great Qing will have to fight the UK at the very start. There's a few ways to go about it. You can kind of cheese it by trying to declare on one of their subjects and trying to just pay war reps, but we don't want to pay war reps. You can also move your capital really far inland. This is a stronger strategy, but we're going to look to move the capital to kind of one of the more optimal places, Jiangxi, which is the most populous state in all of China, and so this is the very best one to build long-term, super tall in. Now, this is a bit more of a high variance play, because the UK can enforce on Jiangxi occasionally, and so if you wanted to be really safe, you could move far inland, but we are going to move the capital to Jiangxi here. Oop. We're going to change the capital to Jiangxi. Gansu, of course, would be the hardest one to enforce on, but we're going to move the capital to Jiangxi, which of course causes huge bureaucracy problems, but we will be solving that as soon as we get rid of Social Security, and it barely nudges our income at all because we are really not making a lot from taxes anyways, so the fact that we're in a deficit is not that important. But the reason we're damaging relations here with the Sikh Empire as well as Portugal is because if they have to push from here, or they have to push from here, that's preferable to them getting landing. It's barely the case with Portugal, but they will have to push through all of Xiaozhou, but we can re-land Portugal from behind and look to just kind of brick their things. In this war with Great Britain, we are going to look to get war reps and recognition very early, but it's not going to be the first war we fight. And so this is kind of the starting uniqueness, because normally you look to play nice. In addition to this, we will improve relations with Great Britain and with Russia. If Great Britain ever gets to positive relations, then we can they can't declare war on us again, and so this can be a way that we can still declare, some wars, maybe make some moves despite this. And so I think we'll also improve relations here with Burma and Dainam, the idea being we want to eventually pull them into our customs union. We are losing the interest with Japan, so we can't improve relations with them, so I think we'll just improve with Persia as well with the last of our points here, and that's kind of going to be the diplomatic point of opening here. Now, for our authority here, we have several edicts, but in addition to the edicts, let's take a look. We are bolstering the industrialists. We do want them to get demarginalized quite quickly. We have consumption tax on services, consumption tax on liquor. We're going to take a look at the taxes in a second, and we are doing 4 edicts here. On the edicts will actually make a lot more sense with our construction queue idea. We are building just 75 construction centers. That's what we have in the queue. We are maxing them out in Jiangxi, Guizhou, Ningxia, and Shaanxi, and we have ideas for each one of these. Ningxia, we will first specialize with tools there. They have the most available infrastructure, and so we will be building our first tooling center high there first, and so they are encouraging manufacturing as well there as well. But long term, we will shift it back to Jiangxia. We will be focusing the resource industries in here in Guizhou early on, and then we will be moving it to Shaanxi. I think we have it at Sichuan at this current juncture, but we will be moving around to all of our edicts. Let's just kind of take a look at all of these. We are encouraging resource industries here because we have 10 logging camps here at the start of the game, and we are encouraging manufacturing here because we will build our very first tooling centers here. Although I suppose we could encourage here in Beijing, and then actually that's probably a little bit better to encourage in Beijing, so let's actually knock this up and then encourage manufacturing in Beijing, at least initially, with the idea that we will be building up the tools. We are going to build up tools here in Ningxia, let them specialize, and let Jiangxi handle the other stuff, as it is going to be both our capital and our manufacturing center, but we're going to run out of infra there relatively early. Guizhou is significant as a place because it has the highest level logging camps, and the first thing you want to max out, other than the size of your engine, absolutely blasting, is of course that we will be increasing taxes to max, and we will be throttling this back down. We're okay running this -1 Oppo approval, and this kind of lets us know how much we're working with. We're working with a positive balance of 200,000. We're adding 75 construction centers. This will cost roughly 150,000, but then we will start transitioning all of these to iron frame building rather than building up to the full cap. So we're going to spend most of our money, and then we're going to slowly begin switching them over to iron frame, which is partially why we have in a couple provinces, like we are building 5 construction centers here in Shandong, or I thought we were. Now we're building 80 construction centers, and the reason being is Shandong can specialize in textiles early. They have one of the higher textile, mills. You do want to specialize in each province. We want to go for throughput, and it is easier to swap over, the smaller level ones first. So we'll be swapping over Shandong, Beijing, and all these non-15 stacks first. Okay, Zhejiang was the area we chose instead of Shandong because we can build the textiles high here, and it has a level 20 logging camp, so that was the decision making there. And so that is the taxes and the authority here for the start. Now, the reason why we are focusing on tools early, just to make it clear, is tools give you the avenue towards making everything more industrialist oriented. If we take a look here, we're currently on Merchant Guild owned here, which is Petite Bourgeoisie and partially Industrialist. We want to swap over all of our logging camps to sawmills, which takes tools. It will also notably give us more wood, and the wood, of course, is going to get very, very expensive with us building 75 wood frame construction buildings. And now it is privately owned, is owned by capitalists, which I'm not sure if we have any in the country, so to give us data, we do, which are going to be more industrialist oriented. All of this empowering of the industrialists, in addition to the, the sawmills PM just being extraordinarily efficient, this will allow us to get the industrialists powerful enough for us to get on interventionism or laissez-faire, which is going to be very, very important. We are also going to want to get off of serfdom at some point, but this is going to be, the main thing is getting off of traditionalism so we can get a better tax method. Now, getting the new tax method is going to do less for us. If we hover proportional, it would actually lose us money right now, a whole lot of money, and per capita would also lose us money, and so it's less important for us, but getting to the point where we're getting a much better IPT modifier is going to be very important. And it's much less important for us because right now we're making most of the money from the minting. The minting is centrally what's important here, and so we would rather, this is what's important here, is going from minus 50% to plus 50 or plus 25% here. Hopefully my picture is not covering that. It's not. And so this is the main idea behind this. Now, into the technology, what we will be doing is we will be going colonization first. Your colonization speed is based off your incorporated population. In case you haven't noticed, our incorporated pop is enormous, and so this will allow us to colonize very, very, very quickly. We will actually take a little bit of an unpause as we kind of talk things through, and the main reason is we want to see what's natural spreading. You can, in theory, restart in order to try and get a more favorable natural spread, because if colonization was natural spreading, we wouldn't really necessarily have to do this, but since it's not, we will just kind of do that. Let's get through all those. And the idea, if this was natural spreading, we would forego it and just let it natural spread to us instead. But it's not, so we're going to research it. And then, very importantly, is going to be getting to railways, because we're going to run out of infrastructure. And I know what you're thinking. What? You have so many states. You have all these states. How can you possibly run out of infra? We're going to run out of infra because we're going to have 500 construction really, really, really quick. And we're just going to blast, and we're going to run out of infrastructure. And so it is important to go for railways relatively quickly if you are really pushing the construction. production. We will, of course, go this way, but also the very important lathe technology will unlock dye workshops for all of our, you know, our textile mills, which is very importantly going to allow us to shift from merchant guild owned, which again are shopkeepers, petite bourgeoisie owned, to capitalist owned, which are industrialist owned, which will give more contribution to the IPT. Notably, you know, shopkeepers give 5% contribution, capitalists give 20% contribution, but we also really need to get the industrialist up in order to be able to get off of traditionalism down the road here. And it is going to be a little bit of a slog, and so that's kind of where everything is going. Now, our first expansion plan is we're going to go for Brazil. And Brazil is a bit of a unique kind of situation because they start out with a minor power, but once they finish their 2 wars, then they will be a major power. They will not be eligible to be vassalized after they finish this war. So we are going to try and vassalize them before they finish this war. This is relatively high variance, and so occasionally you will need to restart the run because this fails. We are going to put in, we're going to recruit more admirals and put in more guys, and we are going to do landings, you know, on the fronts here and here in order to try and brick their fronts with the wars that they have, more so than just enforce on them as quickly as possible. So we're not going to be landing the capital, we're going to be landing the fronts that they have to try and prevent them from enforcing on their opponents here. Finally, the last sort of kind of pre-unpause action we are going to take here is we are going to reform the government, and we are going to exile this boyo here. And then by this boyo, I mean the scholar official leader, who is a traditionalist, which is not preferred. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to pull up one of our other guys, who is currently a leader, and what it seems to do very, very, very consistently is pull up whoever has the most popularity. And fortunately for us, the person with the most popularity is these 2 guys. Is this guy. Oh, he's a pacifist. So sometimes he's a jingoist. So we're going to exile him then. And you can restart the run so you won't get as negative an approval rating with this guy, but we're going to retire this boyo. And we are just going to look through and look who, if anyone, has positive popularity that is a scholar official, because it will put the positive popularity guy in. We see that there isn't one, so we are going to go a-lookin'. We do get a jingoist for this guy, which is a little bit interesting. We will just recruit and be on our way. Man, tons of literati. Normally you don't see this. Well, we'll recruit him up. He's also notably a... Alright, so we get a scholar official. This guy's a pacifist. Not ideal. So we're going to take a look at the Navy. We need more admirals anyways. We're going to need several admirals here. And so we're just looking for someone who is a jingoist landowner. And we're just going to do this repeatedly. We might actually just redo the run until we can get a jingoist guy. So we get a jingoist guy here. We're going to promote him up. And we see he's popular, so this is fantastic. We're going to promote him a couple times, because actually we're going to promote him once, because I think this helps, but I'm not really sure. And now we're going to exile this guy, so that the new guy can come into power, the most popular guy, who is the new boyo. And we see it is the admiral we in fact recruited. We're going to put him back in government, and this will be the thing. These guys are happy with us, despite us firing some guys, because we are, of course, trying to pass poor laws. But this jingoist guy will allow us to go colonialism much faster once we research it, and we're exiling him now because we want to be able to get the exile has a 3-year refresh rate, and we do want to be able to exile another guy again later, because we might try and make some sort of move after researching stock exchange, which I think is what's not spreading to us. No, currency standards, damn. Once we research stock exchange, we can roll a market liberal landowner, and so exiling to try and roll this is something that's useful, and we want to have that tool available, and so this is kind of going to be the thing, but this is all the pre-unpause action, and we're just going to get ready to crank. We are not going to, we are about to get the event. We probably get it in just a second here, so we're actually just going to unpause and go. We're going to watch and see if when we hit our interest here. But we get the opium crisis here. And so for the opium crisis, we have to do something, but we are not going to do this until after we wrap up our war with Brazil. For our war with Brazil here, we are going to make a vassal on them. We probably could take a save before this, but we're going to make a vassal on them. and also go for war reps. We will make the war reps primary. We would love for them to back down, but we would like these war reps, and then we're also going to just put in a whole bunch of these. If the UK somehow joins against us or does this sort of thing, then we could brick the Opium War for them for this sort of thing, just by capitulating, unless they want to open our market. But doing this we can also revoke, we can't put this in, so these are going to be our war goals. They are likely to back down, and if they back down, then we just get Brazil free here. So we get a little bit of nasty variance here with the USA siding against us. If we can't make this work, we're going to try and make it work anyways, but if we can't make this work, we would just, I think we might reload. I think we have a save just right after we put everything in, or you could restart the run. We are looking to be a little bit optimized. The going for Brazil is always a risky thing. Peru, Bolivia is a little bit more consistent, especially because we might get the situation where they can enforce and then it bricks both of our wars. And so we're still going to try and get it in because I want to demonstrate that it is possible, but it is going to be more the riskier high variance sort of thing. Along with moving the capital to Jiangxi is a little bit riskier / high variance, but instead we'll just put in, actually, so we could put in war reps on the Americans, but they are more likely to not contribute a lot if we don't put in anything on them. And so we will just let this escalate and go to war, and then we will be putting in landings. We recruited several more admirals, so we will be able to multi-land. This is an essential element for being able to get in. We will take this enactment chance because the trade unionists are irrelevant right now. But we have 5 admirals. We're going to try several landings in order to get in, and we see that this has started. We're also going to come in here, and we're going to turn on the cannons pretty soon, probably after this war finishes, but before we get the UK to declare on us. This is going to be important. So I thought about it for just a second, and I think we're going to turn on the cannons now. We will immediately have to start doing some stuff as a result of turning on the cannons, but the idea is in a year's time we will be fighting the UK, and we want to have the cannons for fighting the UK, and so we will turn them on. We can't turn them on here until we have professional army, but that's okay. We will just wait a tick, and then we will have a huge shortage, or we just have a huge shortage anyways, and now we get to import them. We are going to import them from the Dutch and the Russians. Oops, we didn't mean to import it from them. I guess we'll just run it for now. We're just going to import from everyone, though. We would prefer people to build them. Cannons are going to be a huge problem for us, but we want to resolve that, and we want to have the cannons available for when we fight the UK, because that will help. We have put in all of these landings, so hopefully we get in relatively easy, because all of the Brazilian troops are already assigned to fronts, so this combined with the multi-landing mechanics should give us a situation where we do this. Now, we are very importantly not banning the opium trade until we're ready to fight the UK. And so we don't want to fight, here we get in our multi-landings, and you see we get in a total of 3 of them, or several of them, and one of our navies gets caught up here, but once the navy is caught, then this, their navy cannot reassign to catch another navy, so the other guys get in, and so we land with everyone else, because Brazil only has 1 navy. And so we will move a few of our boyos over. They are notably 100%. We are trying to brick fronts here more than anything so that they can't enforce on these other guys. And we're not very concerned about the US, at least at this point in time, but I think we will take a mobilize with someone from the South China HQ in order, or actually we're just going to full mobilize. The idea being we want to make it a little bit harder for the US to land us in case this is what this happens. We are obviously running a huge convoy problem, but we should be able to do it just with raw numbers here. So unfortunately they already get 1 capitulation, which is not ideal for us. We have set this as the region we are trying to conquer as the strategic objective for this theater, because this is really what we care about. But we are going to try again to multi-land. We are going to see we have the 24, 24, 35 stack. Here we have a 10 stack and a 47 stack coming in. We are instead going to land the 10 stack and the 47 stack on their capital. One of these landings should get in, the other one will get caught by their navy. But in this way, we are trying to enforce on them. So where's the 10? Oh, is the 10 stack not in here? We'll take the one of the 24 stacks to get in there. We get a rousing speech, captivates the public. We don't really need the enactment chance, but we don't want the popularity on the landowners, so we'll take it. We're at 90%, so we're going to get rid of that pretty soon here. The construction queue is still filling out. We still have 61 construction centers going, and so this will be a little bit of a slog, but we are just going to keep relanding and relanding and relanding and relanding and relanding until we enforce on them. And we are just going to hope that we don't get too brutalized by the US. But I don't think the US is going to put in very many troops here. So we pass social security really quick, which of course is the plan. The other plan is to now go for both professional army as well as, which we can now do because we have the jingoist landowners. See how Zhao Yu supports it? He specifically supports it. Normally they would oppose it because the scholar officials do prefer peasant levies, but we will be able to get professional army in, and once we finish research and colonization, we will be able to get that in as well. This war is going okay. We are just going to continually get pushed back because we have not enough convoys to support anything, but that's okay because we are constantly relanding, reaccumulating a new front, and then once we have a new front here like this, we just get to free push in, and as long as we make sure that he does not enforce on these boyos, we should be able to get an enforcement on him. And it looks like he just, again, will just keep shuffling around, you know, these guys, and there's really not a whole lot he can do, but this does require some or relatively high level of micromanagement. This is risky, and so we're going to put in a bunch of landings here, down here, because we really want to make sure that this does not go through. He cannot get a front with this other boyo here, so we're going to put in a couple landings, and so hopefully he doesn't assign too much to that front when this happens. Oh, okay, it looks like the Paratini are actually pushing him, which is not 100% what we do, because we don't want him to capitulate to it. Opium addiction is tragic. It do be like that sometimes, though, and we see a few guys, we see this 35 stack and this 24 stack are bricked, and so we will come in and land with them just anywhere. It doesn't really matter. The 35 is bricked, and let's see. Oh, that was a different 35. That was the wrong 35. No, that 35. No, he wasn't over there. So we will do Guanwen, and then Chengyi, or let's just get all these guys. Chengyi and all their guys are assigned to fronts. They're not able to, you know, take in this sort of thing. And you can see he's already kind of ready to go. He's really ready to give up some stuff. We don't really care about opening his market, so we'll just propose the peace deal. That way we get to lock it in. And we have successfully vassalized Brazil now. They're in the Qing market, and big nice. Now they will, in turn, enforce on these boyos and annex them, which is exactly what we want. We are coming up on finishing out our construction, and so it's worth talking about what our construction queue looks like after this. We have one shipyard in Xiaozhou, and we have set to auto-build. This is because we do have a unique bonus here for the shipyard's building throughput, and we're going to need to build up a lot of convoys anyways, or we're going to want to build up convoys and navy anyways, relatively early on, so this isn't too terribly bad, but it's mainly a quality of life build. And then we are starting to build Tal in Ningxia for specifically getting all the tooling workshops up and going so that we can swap all of the wood on over to sawmills. We're actually going to swap it now. Oh, no, we can't swap it yet because tools are going to get too expensive. Also, we forgot to swap over all the PMs. Shame on us. There's not too many for us to swap at the very start, but we did want to do this, fishing trawlers and privately owned there. That's kind of the only one. I guess we could go for this sort of thing, but we really need tools to do the rest of these. We are still cranking out a ton of money, and so we're in really good shape still so far, but I don't think we need to add more than this, you know, up to 80 construction centers, at least here at the very beginning, before we start swapping over to iron frame. What we are going to do in terms of our expansion, actually, let's just talk about why we took Brazil, because I think it might not necessarily be too clear. First of all, we want to declare a war that gives us a huge amount of infamy right now, because we are going to get stuck in a war with the UK, and then we will want to not start a war for 5 years, because the UK will have a truce with us. After 5 years, we will run out the timer on the opium crisis. As long as we are not at war, we have to be at peace, and if we declare war on someone else, the UK can join. So we specifically don't want to. We want to run it out and then get rid of the UK, get them off our back, and so we want to accumulate enough infamy right off the bat that we are constantly decaying it. And the secondary reason, kind of talking about what was really bad about China, or one of the challenges they face, is this subsistence farm issue, because these are going to get built over. It's going to unemploy pops. The cars are going to be loud outside. And what's going to happen is you'll have all these unemployed pops. And what do you do with them? You can see it's already up 200,000 unemployed. We send them to the New World. If you want them to be able to have subsistence farms that they can work in, and the easiest way to do that is to take New World provinces, and the best way to take New World provinces is puppeting Brazil here, at least at the start of the game, because then we'll be able to annex them relatively later, and then all of our unemployed pops that have been built over in China will be able to then migrate to Brazil and work in the sub-farms there, and so we won't have this huge issue of enormous unemployment. Instead, we will get productive pops because they will be working in sub-farms. It's very important to emphasize, sub-farms actually have decent output of goods. There's a lot of goods coming out of all of these. It's not the most efficient, but it's better than nothing. It's better than unemployment, and the unemployment is also really bad for your SOL, which pulls down a ton of other things, and so this will help us out quite a bit. In addition to this being very resource rich, it's worth talking about. China doesn't have too much wood. There's a ton of wood in Brazil. China doesn't have too much iron. There's a good amount of iron in Brazil. I wouldn't call it a ton, but it also notably does have iron that has a throughput bonus from the bonus here, although you do have to deal with infrastructure things. We're not going to be building tall in this Brazilian land, but it is going to be very useful. Now, regarding our next war, or our next moves, we are actually going to wait up to 2 months here, and what we are doing is we are waiting to see if the UK starts a play, and if they start a play, then we will ban opium. If they don't start a play, then we'll ban opium anyways, but the idea is they're gonna come after us as soon as this happens, basically. Okay, so 2 months have gone by. They have not done anything, so we are gonna ban opium, and then Great Britain will come after us. It's a little bit better or a little bit easier if you just wait for Great Britain to start a play and then you ban opium, because then they have to finish the play they're already in, and so it'll be a little bit harder for them. We are passing professional armies, so we will be able to get cannons on our conscripts, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna ban the opium trade, and we're also going to try and resolve our shortage of cannons, because we do have a shortage of cannons. And we are going to fix all of our trade routes as well. We're going to fix all of our trade. We are going to build arms industries in the capital, and we're going to build a few. We're going to put them on auto expand, and we're going to put them to produce cannons. This won't solve our problem directly, but it will help out quite a bit, and we will be able to export the small arms. Now, we didn't fix this at game start, and we should have, but we're still really close to the start of the game, and so we have to fix what we're tariffing, and we have to fix it in a way that deals with this sub-farm problem. This sub-farm problem is an enormous problem for us. We really should have talked about it at the beginning here. I'll probably insert something, actually, so that we can talk about it, but we will be making sure that for all of these grain, for example the grain, we are protecting the domestic supply, because people are importing it from us. Currently at game start they are importing it from us, and we will want to do the same with silk as well, so that they import less, because as long as the price stays really depressed, the auto queue won't want to build as much. So see right here, we have the rice farm being built in an auto queue. We also, if we take a look at trade routes, and we just sort by all, we see that people are currently importing grain from us, and so this will help to discourage them from importing grain. We will also tariff more off of them, because we are getting a ton from, mainly from opium, which is why the UK wants to open our market, split us open, but we are getting a little bit from grain, and so this will help us to protect the domestic supply. We are also, so what we are going to do is we are going to protect domestic supply on all the agrarian goods, and we're also going to put it on iron, because we're going to start importing iron, and we're going to start importing a lot of it. So our jingoist landowner died, which is pretty unlucky, so now it's going to be harder to do professional army. We're still super close to the start of the game, even though, this video's come quite a long ways, and so we could restart, in theory, to try and make sure professional army comes through faster. This will make it much easier to fight the UK, and we're not going to get it in time for this fight with the UK, unfortunately. We have started to put in some more import routes. We are starting to consume a little bit more iron. What we are going to do is we are going to slowly, very gradually, switch the construction centers, start swapping them all over to being iron frame construction, and this will increase the demand for iron, and this is going to be how we spend money. In addition to this war, also going to be expensive because we are going to conscript up in order to make sure that we try and win this war. And so this is a little bit unfortunate. We do have the trade routes, and we should have now more eligible trade routes from the interest we gain off of Brazil as our subject. It looks like we haven't got them yet, but we should be able to trade with France, for example, once we have an interest in this region as a result of them. For our war goals on the UK, we are going to force recognition, and we are going to go for war reparations. Now, we could go for something else, but I just want to keep it simple. But releasing probably Cape Colony is something we could enforce. Releasing some of these guys is something we could enforce. We're not really looking to get the infamy. And what we're going to do is we are just going to look to play defense, and then we're just going to land on Singapore down here. And that's all you have to do. In order for us to be able to enforce this, we have to keep them off the capital because they are trying to go... Oh, they just need to take Suzhou. So normally they put in open market, and here they just want to take Shaozhou. And, you know, they do not need to occupy the capital. So this might involve an entire reroll, because these war goals specifically, they just have to land Suzhou and they can enforce. And so this is a bit unfortunate for us. We might reroll this entire run up to this point and redo the entire thing just to make sure we don't get these war goals. But we're going to try and at least fight this with these war goals. The combination of not having pro army and getting this, though, is a little bit unfortunate for us. And so, like I said, it's a relatively high variance type of thing. We are going to fully mobilize and see if we can fight it, though. So we are off and away with the war. It's important to note that had either the Sikh Empire or Portugal joined, we still would have been able to kind of have an easier war here. Let's actually make sure we do land as quickly as possible, because that way we get a ticking enforcement, or we start to get faster ticks. But it's just unfortunate that they put in those particular war goals. We've done this a few times in practice. It is pretty consistent, but it is not 100%. They are decaying pretty quick, though. I think we can still maybe enforce on them, and so we're going to make sure we can try and get into them a little bit faster. We also, not getting this is kind of a bit unfortunate. We'll take the enactment chance, but we have now 2 of these, and they should be landing Suzhou, right? Yeah, they are just going straight for it. And so what we'll be doing as a matter of, like, trying to do this is we'll be assigning everyone to the fronts, and then we are going to be trying to re-land behind them. I think we're going to assign on defense on the fronts because we can't really push them out. And so here we have kind of this inflection point. They're going to push into us very quickly, and we're just going to assign everyone and their mother to defend the front. And then what we are going to try and do, because if we try and push them, they'll just push us back. And then what we're going to try and do is we are going to try and land behind them in order to brick them off of it and try and leverage the fact that we're getting an exhaustion of minus 1.55 and they are getting an exhaustion of 1.5, but we're already 20 points ahead to try and do this. We're not going to push into this. This is way too hard for us to push into. We're just going to try and defend and try to make this work. In the past, a couple of viewers have asked for a little bit more war micro, and so here we're going to talk about what we're doing here. So we have this 10 stack and this 35 stack that are pushing into nothing, but we see there's an unassigned front. So we're just going to come in and we're going to assign to the unassigned front with this 10 stack. So we're just going to assign little stacks to the unassigned ones, and then anyone that's assigned, we want them defending if they are facing any sort of British opposition. And then you can see here we have 2 more landings coming in behind it. We'll take an unpause. We'll just like kind of take this a little bit slow, and you see here now this has changed and we managed to get a push. We do not want this guy pushing anymore, so we will put him on defend front, and we are just going to keep doing this over and over and over again, just trying to get in free pushes and not ever try and push in against this Ooh, actually, this is a 6 stack? Come on, I think we can push a 6 stack, right? So now we're going to come in and like, this is very micromanagement heavy, but we're going to try and see if we can push this 6 stack out. And then if we can push the 6 stack out, that'll be super nice. We do have to take it slow because we don't want to get our guys stuck in on this, but we will try and get a little bit of a push off on the 6 stack while we are defending this stack. This stack, by the way, is got 2 naval invasions coming in where it's at, and so maybe we can brick the entire thing. Now, it's important to note we mobilized everything for a pretty specific... Wow, we're really getting no progression. Even though we're defending, our progress bar is not filling. That might even be a bug, which is unfortunate. A big reason why we mobilized everyone is because the rate of decay is influenced by your casualties relative to the total amount you've raised. And so by raising a larger amount, it makes it harder for them to enforce on us, even though we're not really bringing the army to bear here. You see, actually, no one's pushing. It's just pure status quo with our landings coming in. I don't know why it's not pushing for us. I think this is a bug. What's this about? Okay, so now they're pushing. Now that this front's been killed by the landing, now these guys are pushing. So now we're going to assign them to defend, and we're going to try and land up here. But you notice something. That's Suzhou. That's the entire state. They no longer control it. And they're not going to re-land it because the AI is stupid. And so we're just going to set everyone to defend and then just wait, because they're enforcing us 1.2 and we're enforcing them 1.8. So we're going to get the enforcement faster. We're going to re-land behind here, but for the most part, we're just going to be defending on this front. It's also time for us to reassign some of our decrees here, and so we're going to come in. We are going to pay more here so that we have enough authority to do this, and then we're going to come on the decrees, and we're going to swap over our encourage manufacturing decree from here to Jiangxi, and we're going to swap over our road maintenance from here in Guizhou to Shaanxi, and here from resource industry from Sichuan to Shaanxi, because now what we need, more than anything, in order to keep swapping these over, we need iron. We are actually running an iron shortage, and so what we'll do is in the queue, we'll just do this. We'll just build 21 of these. What do you think of that? And so that'll feel super nice. For this, we are just defending and relanding. Unfortunately, our allies are big stupid. This is unfortunate. There's nothing we can do about this. Brazil is pushing into them, which is unfortunate because as they push, we can actually get re-pushed. And so by losing this battle, when Brazil loses this battle, which they will, then they can get pushed into Suzhou. So I was just kidding when I said we had it all locked up, but it is looking in relatively good shape here for us on that front. Now we are going to still be building up tools here, and so we're going to do this. We also see not very good employment, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and increase the price of tools here. This will fire people and get unemployed pops, but this will be fine. In the long term, this will be fine for us. And so now you see we are barely making money, which is kind of where you want to be. Of course, we do have a full mobilization. And did they... Nope, they didn't get anything on Suzhou, so we are still sitting pretty. This is barely making progress, which is big pain. And we're enforcing on them a little bit faster than they're enforcing on us. We will, the landings will come in soon and we'll brick their fronts, but then we'll probably just be defending where there's a bubble. The AI is not very good at re-landing here. It looks like professional army is kind of dead in the crib, and there's our re-landing there. You can see it just cuts them off from the coast, but doesn't completely brick them. And so we will just bring everyone to defend the front, and we'll ask, hey, what's up? I think that what we will do, they don't want to push into this. What we will do is we will come and we'll put this guy on standby, and we will see if they want to push. They still don't want to push into it because we have too big an advantage. They don't like doing that. And the other guy on standby is to protect against future landings. And so now we just sit back and chill and take our faster enforcement. Really unfortunate our jingoist died. This really gums up stuff for us quite a bit. We also forgot to do this. Never forget. And so this is a bit unfortunate. We will also put this on auto expand. Notably, Shaanxi, one of the very best places to long-term be building up tall, and we will be having the extra resources from our Encourage Resource Edict here as well to kind of help resolve that. But also, we are going to keep checking this and keep trying to import iron because we really don't want to be running a shortage. This is pretty bad. We might even swap to Colonial Affairs. Super unfortunate this guy rolled like this, and we can't exile him for another 26 months. So that is going to be bad for us, but what is going to be good for us is we are going to almost certainly get recognition and war reparations off of Great Britain. Okay, so we had swapped to colonial exploitation before finishing professional army, because professional army was just going to make the landowners mad. It's not hyper essential because we're not going to get it to help us with the UK anyways, and we're crushing this war anyways. We have made sure to pause the instant we pass colonial exploitation, because we are going to take a look at maybe going for homesteading. The idea being, how mad do these guys get? They get to -11. This will radicalize them. It will force a rev. Okay. Because we have this huge-ass political movement for it off the back of us going this. Now, we are about to enforce here, and once we enforce here, we will be doing some things. We're also going to come in, we're going to declare an interest. We should have prepped this before we got the colonial exploitation. It'll be really bad for us if we don't manage to get into Kenya, but if we manage to get into Kenya, we'll get this whole thing, because we have 50-day colonization speed. We're also enforcing on the UK here in the next tick. They still won't accept surrender, but they do get enforced on, and so now we're the number 3 GP. We have a truce with the UK. We have a revolution brewing for homesteading. This should go away. Should. Just like the loud cars, they never end. But once we get in the colonization, or once we've stabilized, huzzah, once we get this in, we will be able to establish, ooh, we still have the rev brewing? Is this real life? Now we can get into Kenya, so that's super nice. Also, what we're going to do here is we are going to delete over half the military. We're going to delete down to 200 battalions. These are expensive. This will cause radicalism, but we do not need this size military. So our heuristic, we can't delete until the rev goes away. Well, we could put in something to make them happy. Well, of course they'll be happy with this. The problem is this just revs the scholar officials. It would be really nice if we had the jingoist guy and we passed both the laws. This is what we did in practice several times, and then we could just pass homesteading straight away, because they were so happy with us already, it did not auto-rev them. And so this does present a few challenges for us here now. Let's see, can we make a legitimate government with anything else? Not really, very legitimate. So we will just wait and see if this rev goes away. Hopefully it goes away. Cross your fingers. It is decaying at the next checkpoint -10, so I think it is slowly going away. And then once it goes away, we will be downsizing the military. Let the procession go ahead. And then also what we've done is we're building a level 21 uni here. Just straight up to 21. This is the economies of scale cap, and so we will research faster. We will get some overflow because we have very little literacy, but when you go over the cap, it's fine. It's not a big deal when you go over the cap, because it's not really a cap. It's just a soft cap, and then the rest will go into technology spread, and you will spread faster. And so this will help us to catch up, especially because we're GP now, because we're recognized, and so things will be progressing along quite nicely here. So we have just been chilling and peeling off events for this rev. Really not too big a deal, but now we are researching, or we're finishing the research at Lathe, which is pretty nice. Reform at gunpoint. This is actually a really nice one, right? Does this enable? Yeah, so this is the one. Okay, so this run was supposed to be a guide, and normally, and I've done this entire practice run several times now, and normally we're able to just get a homesteading with the jingoist, and he doesn't die prematurely. But in this situation, we get a lucky event. We can just enable homesteading. We actually kind of want homesteading a little bit, and so we want to choose a homesteading. I think we're just going to give it to him. Homesteading is, I mean, it's one we want anyways, that way we can get rid of traditionalism. The problem is I am afraid of the crackback rev of the landowners, because the landowners should be pretty upset now. And so we're going to see if we can pass anything, just anything that they like. Anything that they like, even the slight. We can't. Shoot. We could go for tenant farmers, which I don't think revs. I don't think this will cause a rev if we go back to tenant farmers. So maybe we have to go back to tenant farmers if we absolutely must. Man, it's a shame there's no way to finagle just one more approval out of these guys. Because, they just magic. content creator magic right there. We just get big lucky. And so this also goes away. So now we are going to end up firing a lot of people. So this might cause another rev. Well, we're going to fire a bunch of people. I said we're going to fire a bunch of people. I said we're going to fire a bunch of people. I said we're going to fire a bunch of people. We don't have a rev brewing, but we're going to fire a bunch of people. Okay, cool. So now we can fire all these down. Our heuristic is if you're under 20, we're firing you. And then even if you do have 20, we're going to fire in a couple places. Notably, we'll fire in Guangxi. This will be fine. Guangxi is in South China HQ. We are looking to fire guys in the South China HQ because we're a little bit overbuilt in the South China HQ. But other than that, firing every single one that is below 20. I think Fujian is kind of the other one. And then I think we need one more out of the 20 stack. We'll take Southern. Actually, Southern Anhui is probably in the north one. And we are just going to fire down. The whole idea is we really don't need this size military. We are also not starting any plays. If we start a play, UK will be able to join it if we start any offensive play. So we're just in uber chilled mode. If we start any offensive play, UK can join it. They can demand to open our market, and we can get like screwed anyways. And so until this opium crisis runs out, we are starting no plays. So it's big chill mode. So this might cause radicalism because we just fired a whole bunch of pops, but we're going to save a lot of money. We really don't need that level barracks to fight anyone. It's gratuitous, it's unnecessary, and we also finished researching notably lathes here, which is an important tech to emphasize that this is going to help us to bring the industrialists out. So we're going to swap up, and then we will see we swap to privately owned, so now we have more capitalists. The capitalists empower you know, the boyos. We will have to import lead and then make some lead. Actually, we'll just pop some lead in the front of the queue here. This will be fine. And then as far as tech goes, we do need another research here. We are going to go for atmospheric engine because this allows us to swap all the mines to privately owned, which is probably... Oh, and mechanical tools is not spreading to us. Big nice. And the tech spread, let's take a look. Yeah, mechanical tools is nice. As far as what we've built up here, we have just been cranking up, you know, as much as possible the mines, and we've been cranking up the wood in was it Guizhou we put up the wood? Both in Yunnan, Sichuan, and in Guizhou, we are cranking up wood, the chops. And so we are just working like entirely on whatever our construction centers demand. We're working on that, and that's like pretty much what we have everything put into, with the exception of building these unis and whatever the auto queue is building. Notice it is building stuff like livestock, which is overriding you know, subsistence farms. So this is a problem, but the problem is going to be a lot easier with Brazil here. To annex Brazil, in my experience, or in my testing, it's actually kind of hard to enforce on them, so we will make sure that we do upgrade the naval bases a little bit. Xiaozhou is, we're putting it there because this is where we have our shipyards. We are upgrading or having this auto-expand, and so this one will be really nice because it is getting the 10% throughput. Once again, just want to emphasize, but for now, it's mainly going to be chill and be building iron, tools, and wood, and looking to upgrade these construction centers up to the next level. We're probably going to move the manufacturing back to Jiangxi relatively shortly. If you notice, we really don't have a lot of infrastructure. We're overusing the infrastructure already, which is the whole reason why we didn't have it there initially, and why we built it out here instead, where we have a bunch of available infrastructure. That way we do not get messed up, but once we get on railways, then we will make the swap. And we will not spread this pretty quick because we are getting quite a bit of natural spread out of our overflow plus our mediocre literacy, and so we're just going to be bop, and then we're in on railways. So that's probably going to happen behind the scenes. So with our construction, we've switched to a little bit of a different heuristic here. When we're building stuff up, we're building it to economies of scale cap. So we see we're going from 0 to 21 here in Yunnan. We're looking for places that don't have a lot of, or that have a lot of infra available, and we're starting to spread the stuff out immediately. Because we have so much construction, we don't really need to focus on specialization as much as early, and so this is going to allow us to kind of get the most bang for our construction, because when we slap down, we will be having, you know, it's not just 21 buildings, it's effectively like 26-ish buildings, because each one of these is going to have a 20% construction throughput. So this is what we're doing. We're still building, and we're doing this with the wood and the iron, and other than that, focusing on the tools. We have, or we will in a couple places, we are auto-expanding on, you know, some of these goods to try and force them to build in like areas where there is a lot of economies of scale bonus, so this will be good. But the auto queue kind of is sensitive to that, so they are doing that already. We are starting to run problems here, and we will have more and more problems with infrastructure, which is why we kind of made this beeline to railways instead of getting, you know, what would have been very nice with empiricism. We'll probably go empiricism next and look to get egalitarianism sometime down the road. But again, most of our income is not coming from taxes because we don't have sufficient tax capacity, but we will probably want to be in the society tree because we want to get egalitarianism and central archives pretty badly. And but then again, we also really want mechanized workshops, so it's tough. And water tube boiler, there's so many techs we want, but these are kind of the big ones that we're going to be going for here. So we're passing dedicated police force, or at least trying to. This will make the landowners happy, which notably is going to increase our income quite a bit. If I'm not mistaken about the landowner malice, which is particularly bad for us to be running when we are... Oh, well, it doesn't affect sub-farms, so I guess it's not too bad. But the landowners cloud is going to just, like, absolutely get demolished. Here, we'll do this for a little bit of legitimacy. We're notably getting a ton of legitimacy from the Forbidden City, but we will kind of long-term want to get out from under this. I forgot the main point. Oh, we're passing a dedicated police force, but we're also needing bureaucracy, and what we are doing with the bureaucracy is we are building up different buildings to level 21. We have insufficient tax everywhere, so it's not a big deal, but we're just taking a look at the highest level buildings already. We're making sure there's enough infrastructure there, because infrastructure is of course a concern, and we're other than that, we're just slapping down to 21s. We don't really mind having to build a ton of these. You know, we're not making money at this point, so we don't really need to blast out construction as strongly. And so we don't mind building a ton of government administrations because we have insufficient tax everywhere. And then this will help us to be able to pay for the bureaucracy cost of the dedicated police force. So, I mean, we've gotten unlucky in terms of the way things have unfolded, but I think that with the laws, this is going to be okay. Once the industrialists are demarginalized, which they almost are, then we will be able to make a move in onto laissez-faire, and notably, the landowners don't care. The rural folk do, though, so that's going to be the now new really strong rural folk care, but we will try and get onto laissez-faire. But this has kind of been why we've been emphasizing the industrialists so much, because then we will just absolutely blast into space and probably be able to go to like 700 construction off the back of that. It's going to be very, very a lot. Alright, the atmospheric engine is going to be a big one. We have tried to preempt this a little bit by building some amount of coal, although I don't think we did it, well, we didn't even finish the coal. We are importing coal, but it's not going to be enough, and so we will probably bump the coal to the front of the queue. We passed a little bit faster than we wanted the law that we wanted. These guys aren't quite, you know, demarginalized, and as soon as they are, we will be putting them into gov and trying to pass a new economic system, but until then we will have to try and get a little bit more coal into the market. I think what we're going to do is we're going to kick these coal mines to the front of the queue and look to get these finished. That way we can swap everything over to atmospheric engine, and we are about ready to rumble. We could probably rumble right now because it doesn't, the escalation time is a factor, but we will have completed the opium crisis in just a minute here. I think that we're also we're coming up pretty good on mechanical tools as well, so why don't we make sure we did preempt one steel mill. We're going to preempt a bunch more in order to make sure that we have enough steel available for the tools, and then also we will want to hit this atmospheric engine pump event. which is going to be super nice for us if we can hit it, because this will allow us to get railroads faster if this is going to kind of shake out well for us. Man, we're just like almost at it. We could even start the play to annex Brazil now, but I think what we're going to do is we are going to... don't do that. No! These guys are improving relations. No! No! We could propose a trade... we could expel diplomats. No! Peru-Bolivia is normally so nice to get. It's one of the best puppets in the whole game, and we can't go for it because they've been improving relations, and we weren't super on top of making sure that relations are damaged. That's unfortunate. We did manage to pull one of these boyos into our customs union, so that's nice. It is unfortunate we're not going to be able to... Unless we expel diplomats. I mean, maybe we could raise enough hell down here. But it probably wouldn't be good. I guess we'll just go for Chile, because Chile is very resource rich, and I think we should have more interest, yeah, because we built up our navy a little bit, and just look to declare out some of this stuff, so that we can start plays where we want, because we are getting about to the point where we want to be able to start, or we want to start starting plays. We are pretty infamous, and we solve the opium crisis. We are sovereign. I think we'll take the minimum wealth, which is going to be super big nice, and then it's just so unfortunate we just can't right off the bat go for these guys. I mean, we could expel diplomats, but that defeats the purpose. So we could either go for these, or we will wait until this kind of happens. This gets in, and then we will pick between these guys, dominioning these guys, and dominioning these guys. We notably have a 20% discount because we do have this boyo who is cautious, which gives 20% less infamy generation, and now we're generating infamy as a GP. And so I think we'll just go after the Dominion on them. UK has made us a rival, despite us trying to improve relations with them, so they might join against us. Maybe we want to go to the drawing board a little bit. I mean, we will be able to enforce on them, and so what's the worst that they could put in on us? I mean, I think we could also fight the UK. We don't have professional armies still. We do have to keep that in mind, and we still don't have decent, really very good PMs, but maybe these guys just back down. We do want to starting wars, and the only area we could declare where UK doesn't have an interest is up here into Cochin, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we just dominion these guys and look to take things a little slow. Notice there's no UK interest. Russia is protective towards us, so it's unlikely, but we could even... We could form a defensive pact, and then I think they can't join against us, which I think we're fine with. So after they say yes, yep, and then now we'll just go into Cochin, just look to have a very casual expansion plan here, just so the UK doesn't join. Little less high variance. I guess we'll go for war reparations, something like this, and this way we can try and get Afghanistan into our market maybe, and we will also generate an interest up here, and this sort of thing. It'll be good. And then we are exporting a ton of tools because we have built a ton of tools, and now we will have even more tools to export. And we also get sulfide pulping, which is going to be nice. I do believe we either have sulfur created or we are working on it in the queue. These have finished, so we will put everything on atmospheric engine. Hopefully we manage to pull that through. And then the sulfur mines we are going to kick to the front of the queue here, and then we are going to turn them up on the paper. And this one significantly, this PM very significantly, oop, we want to have that. This PM very significantly does, what is it? Switch the ownership from Merchant Guild owned to capitalist owned. It is going to cause a shortage, but that shortage should be resolved really quick. So the atmospheric engine event is notably a really nice one. You have to get all of the things profitable while on atmospheric engine, or 70% of them profitable, or this sort of thing, but it is really nice because it gives you progress on railways, so we will be able to get the railways even faster. And you might have not believed me when I said we were going to run infra problems, but look, these are all the infra problems we are having when we are trying our very best to spread everything out. And so this is what I was talking about and why we kind of rush railways. despite the fact that we really can benefit a lot from society tech. Once we get these railways down, we're just going to be 51ing a uni here in the capital, and looking to catch up, because when you're over the cap, so for example here our cap is 75 and this 25 is going through past the cap, but what it's doing is it's going to technology spread. Also, once we get line infantry, then we will start declaring wars where the UK has an interest, I think, is going to be kind of the heuristic we use. Actually, we might just YOLO one now. We kind of don't want to fight the UK, but maybe we can get an alliance here. We can get an alliance by offering them an obligation. There's not really much they can use an obligation for against us, and with Russia's help, I would kind of feel okay on the balance, and so we'll just do this, and then we will wait for them to say yes. Oh, I thought we were... Okay, and then there we go, and then let's dominion these boyos, and then we will go after war reparations as well, but we will keep the rest of our maneuvers under the assumption that things might go a little bit sideways. We'll mobilize a few boyos, we'll put them in. Notably, we have our front here, which is kind of nice. Also a little bit spooky, but we'll just put in... Russia can also put in on this front. I don't think they'll contribute too much, but they will contribute to the fear, even if the UK joins against them, which they are very likely to, because they are our rival. Even if they join, we should be able to reland behind and try and duke it out this way. And so I think we should be in good shape here. Railroads are going to be so huge for us here. Now, unfortunately, we did not kind of prep already with any production of motor industries, so we're going to put a few in, and we're going to put them where we are going to be adding new... where we're going to be swapping all our manufacturing here into Jiangxia, and we will be adding a few railways everywhere. We will be putting these at the front of the... Well, the queue is not very full right now, so we'll just be slapping them down all over the place. You see just how many places we need that need them, and also we're going to come in and make sure, kind of at the beginning, especially because there will be an enormous demand for it, for transportation, just based off of our pops, we will be putting in the wooden frame on this, and then we will be coming in on the tech. Now, since we're spreading line infantry anyways, this is kind of one where we wanted to pick it up. We will probably start working on... It's so tempting to go for mechanized workshops because we can really benefit from this plus 10 economies of scale, but we don't really benefit that much from mechanized looms. Labor savings not very important for China, so this is maybe... It's still really... I think it's better on China than most others because we can make use of the economies of scale, but we really need to start getting into the society tech, and I think I like the idea of going empiricism. That way we can get extra literature from... extra literacy from wealth-based. It is going to give 0.5, which can go a long way. We are going to be benefiting mainly from natural spread. Actually, since we're benefiting so much from natural spread, maybe we just look to push along banking, because the minting is a huge deal for us because of how much we are making from minting. That is a huge source of our income, and then we look to just maybe go egalitarianism, or maybe go central archives, something like this, and just look to nat spread really, really, really aggressively, because we're going to be building a uni up to 51. I'm not exactly sure what's best here, to be honest. I think that we will just speed up banking, though, for to start, and then go empiricism, because we already have so much of it researched, and then maybe go in on central archives and egalitarianism, because these ones will be pretty good, and they'll kind of coincide right, hopefully, when we're finishing. Now that we have these guys powerful enough, we are going to go for a better economic system. So we're going to come here. The rural folk are going to hate our guts, but we're going to try and get it in. Oh, they're -9. That's rough. This is going to decrease... I think, what is a decrease? I forget what their malice is sometimes. Yeah, technology minus tech spreads actually particularly uncomfortable, because we are going to be benefiting a lot from that. And then we will be building, kind of more additional ones of these here, auto expand, and then, and then we'll just be 51ing here. We're building the unis in the capital because there's plus 50% bonus to clout in the capital, and so we want to build them here, and we're building to 51 because we will build to 51 eventually, because unis benefit an enormous amount from economies of scale, and so this is why we're building them here, and this is why we're building them that high specifically. So we've just been doing some kind of small ball expansion / putting out fires in regards to where we are in terms of bureaucracy. We get line infantry, which is a pretty big inflection point. Here we're going to come in here and handle this. We are running a little bit of bureaucracy problems. We're just going to do a little bit of this. This is going to be a continuing kind of issue. It's going to make some techs very, very good for us. Line infantry is also pretty nice. And we see the Great Britain side with Zulu, whom we were going after, and now we have a bit of an uncertain sort of situation. If we don't put anything in on Great Britain, then... I mean, so it's pretty easy for us to get in on Zulu, and we really don't care too much if we get humiliated. It's not a big deal, so we can just back down and give up this. And it gives us an opportunity to sort of, I suppose, release or return Kenya? Let's see, we can take a conquer state, we can conquer British Kenya. We're going to cut them off here anyways, so it really doesn't make a very big deal on that front. Here, in fact, speaking of colonization, we should probably have an interest there. So maybe we don't want this interest here, and we just want to have this interest here, something like this. Or actually, we probably don't want this one. So that's fine. But I think we're coming pretty close to concluding the episode. We might even conclude it here. Or actually, I think I'm going to load, because I want to upload the save file. So we're going to load and then talk about it. Okay, when we reloaded, we got a little bit of a funny event, and so we're just going to take through it. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte is coming over here. I don't know why this is... we got him, but we are going to say there's no reason to stop him from coming. And now we have an agitator in Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, who notably supports interventionism and is neutral towards laissez-faire, which is actually going to help out a lot. Now he is... oh, he's petite bourgeoisie. That's a little unfortunate. I thought he was not. Okay. Anyways, it was too difficult to stay on laissez-faire, so this is why we had swapped to interventionism. But I think we're going to conclude this episode here and just talk about, you know, what we've done and where things are going. So first of all, we have over 500 construction. We won the Opium War. We got recognition. We're the #2 great power. The reason we're not #1 is entirely because we have very little army power projection and navy power projection. This is going to come along very shortly once light infantry finishes not spreading to us, which we don't currently have it because the load. As far as future goes in terms of where we're going with tech, or actually, what else have we done? We also have subjugated enormous swaths of the New World, which is going to help solve our problem. We started the game with like 1.5 million unemployed. Now we have 6 million unemployed, and it is the result of these damn rice farms that are just... or the rice subsistence rice paddies, because these are getting built over. It's the case. Look, there's Gansu. It's in these places. It is getting built over, and so this is causing unemployment. Also, we use labor-saving PMs in some farms. This causes unemployment. I mean, in theory, we can try and avoid it by adding some like auto expands in areas that don't have sub-rice farms. Like this just has subsistence pastures. But anyways. This subjugation of, you know, kind of this, once it gets annexed, the Chinese pops are free to kind of flood to these areas, which have so much unused subsistence farms. You know, finding employment will be very, very, very easy, and so this will, over time, ease the unemployment burden very, very greatly, in addition to, you know, having decent subjects. I thought about annexing Brazil, but then I wanted to leave it up to any player who picks up this save, whether or not they keep Brazil around. And so I chose not to annex Brazil, kind of mainly for this reason. But also, it is a little bit of a tough war without line infantry, so it was kind of waiting on this. But the plan is to annex Brazil. But you can annex New Granada instead and keep Brazil. Notably, Brazil is a puppet or vassal instead of a dominion, and so this is going to be a little bit better. They're a puppet. And so, yeah, I think that this is a very, very strong start for Great Qing. I think that this is kind of what you want the initial strategy to be. As far as future expansion plans, I was planning a market-oriented expansion into Afghanistan and Persia, as well as Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina and Mexico, kind of focusing on bringing these guys into the market. Currently is not... Ooh, we could just pull Dynam in. We actually do have quite a few people in the market already who are not Dynams coming in. They're in. We're working on Peru, Bolivia. We have a trade agreement with them. We did drop the ball a little bit. I think you do want to dominion them as your first war after coming off the UK, and I was consistently able to do this in practice, but I didn't make sure I was damaging relations with them, so there is an improvement you can make there. You can also go for transfer subject on the UK. For the East India Company, maybe there's a way to do this. You can certainly go for release subject and just look to land them, to tick them down, and just quad or quintuple land them in order to make this happen, but I decided not to do it because I knew I was going to be turning this over, and by turning this over, I mean there should be a link below for this save game. It's going to be in the Discord, or there's a link for the Discord. I'm going to upload the save file if anyone wants to play from here with Great Qing, where a lot of the problems have been solved. The unemployment problem is pseudo-solved. All you have to do is annex any one of these boyos, and you'll get a ton of arable land that has a bunch of available employment. You know, you see there's 20k jobs here, there's 280k jobs here. Just this country alone is more than enough to take off significant unemployment problems, because you have to keep in mind not everyone who is for the unemployment. I'm not sure if this counts dependents. Oh, maybe it doesn't count dependents, in which case you'd have to annex more than New Granada, but the pops will just flood out of the Chinese provinces into New Granada, and you will make a lot of money here. Moving forward as well, in addition to that sort of expansion plan we just talked about, as far as tech goes, I think that the big techs to keep an eye on are going to be central archives, which is going to be particularly useful for China because we already have a tax insufficiency, and so that's going to be really nice. Also, technocracy might be a good form of law to pass. But, okay. And then egalitarianism is going to be good, although notably the tax law is not as insane as it normally is. It probably doesn't even make as much money right now. It makes minus 106k, and so it will be a little while before it makes more money, but it does tax in a way that is preferable, so even if it doesn't make more money, it's still kind of maybe a direction you want to go, although just cranking more construction is probably better, so in that case, dialectics. You don't even really need pharmaceuticals into Quinine, although this will let you... Maybe this is good because it lets you colonize more areas. Already, Great Britain's about to get cut off, and so this will be good. We can slap down, or we are already expanding in a few places, but we will expand there as well as this kind of comes in. You know, we also have a bunch of trade routes. I'm not going to touch them too much. We're importing a bunch of stuff. Notably, grain prices are pretty high as a result of our subs farms getting annihilated. And often AI China just death spirals as a result of this. You can't solve grain prices by building grain because you're deleting sub farms when you do it. This is important to note. And so this is kind of, you know, as far as trade strategy, just continue importing the agrarian goods and exporting the manufactured goods. But yeah, I hope that this was informative and enjoyable. If it was, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know, the YouTube algorithm stuff, it does help out. And other than that, have a good one.